All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336. Once again for episode 179 of the 815 Exchange. And well. Listen, if you are a football fan, it is a great time. And listen, we got a lot of football to talk about. Of course, today is the national championship, so I have to preview that for you. But also, you already know what we kicking this off with. What happened last week, last month. Oh, you already know. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, we have some college basketball, some NBA, World Juniors, and of course, it is NFL last week of the season, Week 18. So we're going to be talking about that in the main event. But as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in the description below. Timestamps are embedded in the video and also provided in the description below. Social media links, if you want to follow me there, also found there. But listen, y'all know what time it is. I've been waiting on this. I almost caved and did what I said I was going to do last week, but I have been waiting on this. Of course, we are kicking off with college football, as we have so many times throughout the history of this podcast. But boy, oh boy. Michigan and Alabama in the Rose Bowl, and I want to hear it. I want all y'all that were talking crazy. A month and almost a half ago, right? A month and some change, a couple episodes ago, when we were talking about when the CFP committee, made their Final Four and they took the 4 best teams. Where you at? Where SEC fans, where are you at? Alabama fans, where are you at? That were all in my TikTok, where are you? I would like to have the conversation that we don't want to have right now. Because what happened? What happened? What did I say? What did I say? 4th best team in the country, yeah? So, we have the Rose Bowl, of course, kicks us off Monday, 5 o'clock. Came out a little bit before the podcast came out. And Michigan took care of business in a great, because the Rose Bowl always delivers, by the way. Took care of business in a great game, 27-20, and beat the Crimson Tide after one of I don't know if it was Milroe. I don't know if it was Reese, his play call. I don't know if it was the offensive line for Alabama that was horrid the entire game. I don't know who it was or who we need to put the blame on, or if it was just everybody, right? But an awful game on the line. I understand going with Mill. I would have done the same thing. You put the hands. Listen, I have basically a running back there. All right, 6'3", 2 whatever Milroe is. All right, built like a tank. Great, a fantastic runner, goal line situation. I'm putting the ball in his hands 1-on-1. Try to get us to that double overtime. I'm doing it too. But I'm not running him right up the middle when my offensive line has been getting busted in the mouth the entire game. But that's what they did. And then the blocking failed, and Milroe doesn't even make it to like the 2 or I think he got stopped at like almost a 5 almost. All right, I think he gets stopped at the 4. And Michigan celebrates, waves Alabama goodbye. And yeah, like I said, my only question is, what do y'all have to say what do you have to say about yourselves? Alabama, what do you have to say about yourselves, right? What did Alabama do in this game that was so revolutionary? I told y'all what it was the entire year. Even when Alabama was up, I told y'all. So I'm very much so confused on the committee's reasoning for putting them in this game, despite it being a very good game, and the fact that they maybe even should have won this game. What did they do that was so revolutionary that made them Alabama? Because that's what they got in, right? It's because they were Alabama. What was Alabama about this performance, right? They weren't dominant offensively. Michigan really was giving them the game off of a lot of mistakes. I mean, special teams was awful. Nobody could catch a punt on Monday. Nobody. I mean, and certainly nobody from Michigan. We'll talk about what happened in the Sugar Bowl. But a lot of mistakes from Michigan kept Alabama in this game. The offense wasn't revolutionary. Jalen Milroe wasn't Cam Newton V2, which is what we were told. The defense was good. Like I said, though, a lot of mistakes. Some of, though, got to give credit to the defense. Like I said, the front 7 did bits. But this wasn't Death Star Alabama. That's what the committee, that's what y'all promised, right? The SEC, the unstoppable Alabama, right? That's what they were supposed to be. That's why they got in. Where were they? They weren't at the Rose Bowl, and they certainly weren't there on that last play. And they didn't really look like Death Star Alabama when they were winning. I mean, the Alabama offensive line, let's talk about it. Been horrible all year. Seth McLaughlin is now transferred to Ohio State, but boy, oh boy, did he have a nightmare. I mean, he couldn't snap the ball to save his life. It looked like it was his first game snapping the ball. J.C. Latham, 5-star offensive tackle, got blown up on that last play. He's the who's who Milroe tripped over. Really, the defender, even though, made the play. But a lot of that was Milroe tripping over his own right tackle that somehow got blasted 5 yards off on a goal line play. Milroe was sacked not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 times in this game. Was fighting for his life. I mean, it's no wonder he only threw for 116 yards. Which, by the way, funny enough, in that, Florida State's, slaughter, scrimmage, whatever you want to call it, it was barely a game if we're calling it that, since they barely had anybody of any substance play. I mean, they were basically practicing. It was a spring game. It was a spring game roster versus Georgia going, all in. And still, funny enough, in that game that was so lopsided, historically lopsided, Brock Glenn still threw for more yards than Jalen Milroe had in this game. Ain't that something? So yeah, Milroe fighting for his life. The run game was the only thing really going for him. No real surprises. Will Johnson is that guy. That secondary for Michigan is the truth. And Jermaine Burton was in Alcatraz. Okay? So nothing was really going there. Run game, Jace McClellan looked great. I mean, Roydell Williams is now entered the transfer portal, but Jace looked great. All right, honestly, they should have gave him the ball more, though they started to figure him out a little bit more in that second half after he broke it open. I mean, which was nearly a free touchdown for Michigan. Like I said, nobody could catch a punt. Jace made him pay. And Jace had 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was that guy offensively for Alabama, which is what I've been saying all year, is that they need to run the ball more. But what do I know? What do I know? But McClellan, really their only source of offense in this game. The defense, like I said, was very, very solid. Caleb Downs is an NFL safety, as I've said all year. All right, he's a special, special player. Probably the best player on that secondary, even as a freshman, as a 19-year-old or whatever Caleb is. He is that guy. Nearly kicked us off with an interception because JJ, made a horrific decision. By the way, McCarthy did end up with 246 and 3 touchdowns. So credit where credit's due. All right, credit where credit's due. Of course, though, if we're talking about anybody from Michigan offensively, we have to talk about the man himself, the legend, the greatest running back in Michigan Wolverine history. Blake Corum had 118 yards, 83 yards rushing, and a touchdown. And, of course, that was the winner in overtime, or at least the go-ahead. He also had 3 receptions, 25 yards. He was that guy. All right, Blake was that guy. As expected, he is the focal point. I mean, it is incredible. He never falls backward. You rarely see him lose yards. Even on those 1 to 2, he always is falling forward, right? For someone that is smaller, quote unquote, in stature, he is very strong. He is a very strong runner, a very powerful runner. And yeah, Corum showed off. I mean, those cuts on that touchdown, if you see it running back from the field view, from that wide angle, I mean, it's just gorgeous. All right, you need to send that to every tailback in terms of this is how you make a cut, this is how you jump cut, because Corum was absolutely clinical. All right, he was absolutely clinical in that. Roman Wilson felt like he had 4 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown, which is what his stats were. All on that last possession, he came through very, very, very clutch late in the fourth quarter. McGregor ended up with 2 sacks, and like I said, Will Johnson was that guy with the straps as he has been all year. But yeah. Listen, what did Alabama do that a Jordan Travis-less, right? I mean, what did they do in this game? Florida State also has a really good defense. It wouldn't be shocking for them to have held Michigan to 27 points. Offensively, Alabama really didn't do anything, so I'm struggling to see what Florida State without Jordan Travis, they couldn't put up 20 points. With Keon Coleman, Johnny, come on now. What did Alabama do that was so groundbreaking in this game? I mean, they took it to OT, credit where credit's due, but I think that's more of an inflection of Michigan struggling in this game, which I'll talk about in my national championship preview. But yeah, Michigan wins the Rose Bowl. It was a great game, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Bama's going to be better next year, but this year, Did they really deserve to be in the playoff? Did they really? I mean, were you impressed? I wasn't impressed. I was impressed, however, I guess I was right about this too. I'm just going to stroke my own ego in this podcast. Episode 179, I should just name it Chris's Ego, because this is what this is about, right? Washington, Texas was another phenomenal game. Was the game I said I was more intrigued by, honestly, and it ended up delivering, because Texas, somehow, some way, right? Washington gets the ball off an onside kick, by the way, with 1 minute and 6 seconds to go. For all intents and purposes, with the offense Washington has, the game should have been over. They somehow managed to only waste 21 seconds of game time. Give the ball back to Texas, who drive down the field and really had a fantastic chance to win this game. But then, I don't know what Sark was doing. I mean, he's usually phenomenal. He's been great all year. He threw up the 4 worst plays he could possibly get. That screen to start us off on first down, no business. Wasted a bunch of time and got a half yard. I mean, just garbage. Threw up the worst. Credit where credit's due to the DB for making that play, by the way, on AD, though, to win the game. But still, 4 of the absolute worst plays you could have ran in that situation. It was honestly mind-boggling. Texas threw a little bit there, but Washington did deserve the win. They got the win. 37-31, they survived. Michael Penix was Michael Penix, 430 and 2 touchdowns. Dylan Johnson had 2 TDs before his injury. Roma Doozy. Listen, how many times have we talked about Roma on this channel? How many times? Countless. Countless times. Alright, there's a big 3 receivers in this draft. Of course, Marv, Malik Neighbors, who declared the other day, and Roman Doozy. You can you can throw Malik and Rome, however, what order. I'm going to say Rome above Malik, in my opinion. No offense to LSU fans. I do have some good news for you a little bit later on in the podcast, of course, with Bryce Underwood. But, nonetheless, Rome is that guy. All right, 6 receptions, 125. Texas couldn't hold him. Jalen Polk couldn't get hold. Listen, 5, 122, and touchdown for Polk. The third head of the monster, McMillan, 5 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. It was that type of day. It was that type of day. That Washington offense is different gravy. Braylon Trice, by the way, had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs. He always had 318. He had 318. Wasn't a bad game from him. Spread the ball out well. Like I said, Washington controlled this game from the start, though, and that's a hard team. Washington is a very, very hard team to try to come back against because that offense is so dynamic and they waste so little time, and it just feels like they can score at will sometimes. It is very hard to come from behind and try to beat this team. Texas nearly did it. You can argue that they should have, but it wasn't enough. Washington gets it done. Penix, that offensive line, the offense, too explosive, and they head to the national championship where they will be facing Michigan, as we know today. Apparently, Michigan are the favorites. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say I'm going to be different, but not just for the sake of being different. I think Washington is going to win the national championship. I would prefer Michigan as a USC fan. I prefer Michigan to win, but Michigan has this tendency to start slow in some of these big games. We've seen it versus OSU. We've seen it versus Alabama, last week. They cannot, just like I just was talking about with Texas and Washington, one of the things that did Texas in, you cannot start this game slow versus Washington. As good as that defense is, and trust me, Rome versus Will Johnson, for me, is like the Rock and Stone Cold in the early 2000s. I've been watching a bunch of retro WrestleManias recently, too. All right? That's that type of matchup for me. I can't wait. As a receipt, woo! I'm looking forward to Rome versus Will, or Will versus whoever they throw at him. All right? Sandstro versus Polk, whatever it is. Because that's going to be music to my ears. But still, nonetheless, with Dylan Johnson, by the way, being active, we'll see how healthy he is in this game. You cannot play from behind and make the same mistakes you did against Alabama against Washington, because they will make you pay. They have playmakers galore, and they have the best offensive line in the country, the Joe Moore Award winners. Penix is going to get, as good as your pass rush is, as good as McGregor is, if Penix gets time to dot it around, he will, because somebody's going to get open, and Lord knows he can deliver it. This is a dangerous game for Michigan. It's a dangerous game for Washington, but man, because Michigan has that tendency, I think Washington wins the national championship. Of course, we'll see what happens. I would prefer Michigan to win. I would prefer Harbaugh to get the win and for me to not have to deal with Michael Penix is the best quarterback in the draft and Washington, oh, they won the Pac-12, FUSC. I would prefer that, of course. But if I was a betting man, maybe I am, I got Washington. Not to say Michigan, like I said, they gotta have a strong start. They gotta control this game, which they can with the running backs that they have, of course. Blake, John, listen, control this game, control the tempo of this game. Don't give up the big play or try to contain the big play as much as you can. Will Johnson has to have a great game. That pass rush has to get going. All right? This is the ultimate test. Best offensive line, you got to go. All right? They cannot wait around and make a bunch of mistakes and hope to fight it back against the worst team like they did against Bama. That's not going to work against Washington. So the start of this game, I think, is going to dictate a lot. Of course, I think it's going to, all 4 quarters are important. But the way these teams start this game and even coming out of halftime, how they start that is going to decide a lot about how this game goes. So, yeah, very excited. This is the natty that I wanted. So, yeah, Michigan, Washington, all good. I was going to leave this into the roundup, but we're talking about college football. Segment's almost done. Why not? LSU, I did say I was going to give you good news. The number 1 player and number 1 quarterback in the class, the junior class, well, I guess it's about to be the senior class, but the class of 2025, Bryce Underwood does commit. So, Michigan, here's 1 L for today, potentially, of maybe 2 L's. The one tonight might be a little bit worse than this one. But, yeah, LSU does manage to get Bryce Underwood. It's where a lot of us, at the end really kind of thought he was going. But, yeah, huge. All right, LSU, man, Burrow has done wonders. Wonders for the quarterback position at LSU, man, and just kind of the perception and players wanting to go there. So, yeah, shout out to that team, that 2019 LSU team. Greatest team of all time, in my opinion. But, yeah, Michigan, Washington, Bryce Underwood, we going to see. We going to see. See you next week for that. All right, now going to the other side of the college game. College basketball. We're talking about because, listen, all right, no disrespect. We are going to talk about the guys. Oh, we're going to talk about specifically one guy's game. Spoiler alert. But we talk about the ladies. You know what it is. It's where all the stars are. All right, no offense to the guys' game, but, it's where it is. It's where they got the juice right now. I said it before, they got the juice right now, so this is where we at, all right? VTech and NC State, huge game. All right, huge game, especially in the ACC. VTech, of course, the reigning, defending, undisputed ACC champions of the world. Led, of course, by one of the best players in the country and 336 legend Elizabeth Kitley, taking on NC State, who are the number 3 team in the country. They've been the surprise team this year, undefeated so far, headed into VTech. Would NC State prove that, hey, this is our conference now? Or could VTech pull onto the crown? And, well, it came down to the last shot, but ladies and gentlemen, Liz Kitley is, in fact, Liz Kitley. She had 27 and 12. But there was no shot she made in that game more important than that putback that won the game at the buzzer for Virginia Tech. That game lived up to the hype. All right, simply put, it lived up to the hype. Lizzie lived up to the hype, as she always does. And yeah, it was a very, very good game. VTech gets the win, like I said, remains queens. All right, they remain queens of the ACC. Of course, everybody wants to know, what did Georgia Moore do? Listen, she's G. All right, G is G. She's one of them ones. She didn't have a great shooting game, okay? She went 9 for 24, I think 3 from 11 from 3, but she still had 21 and 7. So, solid contribution. You want her to be a little bit more efficient, though. So, you'll take it, but, you want that efficiency to be a little bit better. Madison Hayes for NC State had 21. Wanted to give her that. And yeah, like I said, came down to the last shot. No shame in that. They'll run it back a little bit later on in the season and potentially in the ACC championship. So, won't be the last time, but for now, VTech remain queens. Caitlin Clark is the best college basketball player in the country. All right? Pound for pound, man or woman, she is the best. Okay? She's the best. If you didn't know, this week was a very, very high inclination of this is very clearly the best player in the country. To start off the week against Michigan State, a little bit of a trap game at home, she had a game winner, which you may have saw about 15,000 times. I know I definitely did, and I wasn't complaining. 15,000 times you saw her take that logo 3, step back, jumbo, cash money, one of the sweetest swishes I've ever heard in my life, to beat Michigan State and have the 40-piece. Oh, and then she followed it up Saturday, excuse me, by dropping a triple-double that moved her into second place alone, only, behind the great Sabrina Ionescu from Oregon a couple years ago. Might know who she is. The best player in the country, ladies and gentlemen. A triple-double and a 40-piece game winner. It's the Caitlin Clark experience. I'm really surprised at this point. But, of course, what I wanted to talk about in this, college basketball segment, of course, it's about my alma mater. We took on FAU. Unfortunately, it was during break, so there were some students there, but we didn't get the full effect that we normally would have. But, hey, we took on the best team in the American Conference, the AAC champions. One of the best teams in the country, though they're about to fall after losing to us. FAU. They've run the show recently, all right? John L. had 20, Boyd had 19, Vlad was Vlad, but still. Another game that came down to the wire. And we sent Lukai Patterson, my guy, Lukai Patterson, to the free throw line. And now Lukai ain't the best free throw shooter. He's not. We'll admit. He ain't the best free throw shooter. But when he had to make them, I was so proud. My boy Lukai, my boy Lou, came through. Hit both of them. 70-68. FAU can't get it off. We win. Roll Niners. That's all I got to say. All right? Roll Niners. First top 10 win since 2010 against Temple. I was ecstatic. It was electric. Never been so happy. Roll Niners. Entertainment. And honestly, entertainment is like, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be like a minute. All right? Reacher. Season 2. Episode 6. Another very good episode. Reacher. Probably the best show on television. I haven't watched What If yet. And I know Echo's about to come out. So, give me grace. I do want to see season 2 of What If right now. I don't have my D+ subscription. I inactivated, all right, because I'm post-college. Y'all know how it gets, all right? If you know, you know. Had to make some sacrifices, all right? D+ was one of those. Of course, there's, other websites where I can watch it. Disney, you didn't hear that. But, Reacher has been holding it down, all right? And, Detective Russo was also holding it down. Rest in peace to a real one. He went down swinging. He went down like a G, protecting Burns' daughter. That's kind of what this entire... He was given death flags, all right? He was given death flags, but he went out like a G in this episode at the end. Without protecting, like I said, Burns' daughter. They almost got Langston, but it all just kind of crumbled because they were following Russo. But yeah, very Russo-centric episode. But I think it was fitting for the storyline. And of course, you knew somebody was going to die because you have to have some gravitas. Some gravity to the actions that are going on. It just can't be Reacher's team, slaughtering through everybody on their way to the goal. Has to be some emotional impact for the viewer. And Russo, of course, was that guy. He was the guy to unfortunately bear that. So, still, very good episode. I'm heavily invested. I want to see what happens next with AM and Langstrom. So, we will see. But yeah, Reacher deserves the hype that it is currently getting. What If, like I said, is out. Haven't seen it yet. I've heard some solid things, so very interested to see about that. And of course, Echo, which looks dope. The fight scenes look crazy. I heard Daredevil's in it, so yeah, I'd like that poster, by the way, with the sign language. That was brilliant marketing. Shout out to Disney on that part. Shout out to Marvel, even though they get a lot of flack recently. But shout out to them for that. They held it down there. Did a very good job there. But yeah, hadn't seen that, but we'll get around to it. But that, like I said, was entertainment, which of course brings us. It brings us to the main event, which couldn't be anything else besides the NFL. Week 18, playoff spots on the line. Some of your teams may have been in, and resting starters, like in the first game, which we'll talk about very briefly. Or, whatever. You were fighting for your life. It's that type of week. It's the last week of the season. So let's talk about that and preview the playoffs and the wild card, shall we? Like I said, first game of the week. Ravens weren't playing nobody crazy. Lamar sitting out. A lot of the stars, if you had a nick, all right? If you had a paper cut, you were sitting out this game for the Ravens, which opened up the door for the Steelers to creep their way into the playoffs because Mike Tomlin, if he's going to do nothing else, if Mr. Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, if he ain't going to do nothing else, he's going to, 1, have a very solid defense. Number 2, he's going to have over a 500 record. Number 3, he going to find a way to seep into the playoffs. Oh, he going to find a way. This Steelers team is not a very good team, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, they made it. All right, they win here against the Ravens, find a way to get it done on the road. Najee Harris, credit where credit's due. He had 112. Deontay Johnson played a good game. Pickens made plays when it needed to happen. Like I said, Ravens weren't really playing anybody. They played Huntley in this game. He was okay. But like I said, man, the Steelers had to get it done. Time to get it done. They make the playoffs. Of course, the bigger game was the game after that. Texans-Colts. Winner takes all, right? You win, you're in. You lose, you snooze, as they say. And the baby goat, who's on the telly right now, because I got Pat McAfee show up right now, and CJ Stroud is there. Well, how about baby goat right here? CJ Stroud is in fact that guy. We said it all year. 20 for 26, 264, and 2 touchdowns for, I don't know. He still may end up getting Rookie of the Year, at least in the AFC. I know Puka has pretty much got that held down in the NFC for sure. But, CJ missed those weeks, so I don't know, how that's going to go. But he is well-deserving of Rookie of the Year because, boy, oh, boy. Of course, credit where credit's due to my Coach of the Year, D'Amico Ryans, and what he's done for this Texans team, which cannot be understated. I mean, cannot be understated what he has done and the impact he's had on this team, even more so than Stroud. But credit where credit's due because nobody thought the Texans were going to be 10-7, and Stroud was a big piece of that. Nico Collins, I don't know how they developed a rapport like they have, but boy, oh boy, are Texans fans happy that it did. 195, and a touchdown for Nico. The Colts could not hold him. He was unstoppable. All right? He's going to be in Colts DB's nightmares for a very, very long time after this game. Because, yes, Minshew, didn't do enough. I don't know how. And listen, I do not want to rag on Tyler Goodson in this game the way that, I see a lot of people are. But I'm going to just say, with the game on the line, you got to have your 4th and 2. You got to get the ball in your best player's hands. As much as I faulted, and I was making fun of Alabama earlier in the, episode for, the play call with Milroe, the idea was right. Put the ball in Milroe's hands, get it in the box. You got to put the ball somehow, some way, find the most efficient way to get the ball in Jonathan Taylor, who had 188 yards and a touchdown in this game. You got to find a way to get your star player the ball with the game on the line, your season on the line. You got to find a way to get him the ball and tell him, get those 2 yards. We going to do what we do. Just go get those 2 yards. Taking him out, putting Godson in after he's played, 5 snaps all game? And it wasn't even really a good throw from Minshew. But still, Goodson's supposed to make that play. He doesn't. And that's it. That's all she wrote. But you got to get that in JT's hands, in my opinion. Even if it's the screen pass to JT, you got to do that. You have to get it into your star player when it matters. You have to. You got to let your stars be stars. Colts did not do that, and now they pay the consequences. Texans get it done. Credit where credit's due. They win the AFC South. Oh, boy. I am in euphoria after this one. In euphoria. Words is in there. How about them Cowboys? Y'all was worried, we gonna get on the Eagles. Oh, yes, we're going to get to the Eagles and the Giants. Oh, don't you worry. But with the NFC East on the line, all we had to do was get the W against the Washington Commanders. And listen, they gave a hell of a fight. For the first quarter and a minute in this game, they gave a hell of a fight. Or really the first quarter, and I'll give them half of the second quarter. Hell of a fight. Credit where credit's due. They broke Aubrey's streak, right? They got the blocked field goal, which set them up for the TD. And then Aubrey ended up missing one, which, sucks for Butter. But I just need him back in, shape for the playoffs. But after that, it was over. It was over. All right, it was over, okay? After that Tony Pollard touchdown, it was done, all right? The Cowboys smoked the Commanders 38-10 in glorious fashion and claimed the NFC East once again. Dak Prescott had 279 and 4 touchdowns. A nice get-back game for him. Pollard, he needed to see the end zone. After all the slander recently, 70 yards and a touchdown. Good stuff from Pollard. CeeDee Lamb, All-Pro. If there was a Biletnikoff for receivers, and Tyreek Hill didn't do what Tyreek Hill did, I would argue CeeDee Lamb should get it. 13 targets, 13 receptions, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. CD Lamb. See, listen, getting him and Micah in the first round has to be one of the greatest first rounds for one team ever. Like, off multiple draft picks. I think I've said this before on here, but has to be. And I'm not just saying that as like a Homer Cowboys fan, but objectively, we got one of the best defensive players in the league and one of the best receivers in the league in the same round. Like, it wasn't like we had 1 and 2. We had like, 5 and like 14? Maybe lower than that for CD. Gorgeous. But CD, as he's been all year, was a monster. Like I said, Dak pulled out. Dante Fowler had 1.5 sacks in this game. Micah also got a sack to bring his season total to a resounding 14. He joins Reggie White as the only 2 players in NFL history to start off their career with 13 or more sacks in their first 3 seasons. So you love to see that. CD balled out. Like I said, Dak balled out. Somehow was a turnover machine. And glory was bestowed upon the Cowboys. How about them? A pitiful, listen, no disrespect, but listen, they didn't go 0-17 or 0-16, right? But man, this had to feel like one of the worst seasons of all time. Especially from and I know Carolina Panthers fans. I'm from obviously North Carolina, live in Charlotte, quite a bit. I would know, and I know some of the inner workings of the organization, so I know. But this has to feel like one of the worst. It feels like one of the worst seasons of all time. I'm not going to lie to you. And it couldn't have ended any more fitting beside David Tepper embroiled in a scandal after he threw a drink at a fan and had to pay $300K as compensation for that. And then they proceeded to lose 9-0 at home to basically gift wrap the division, like I said, that nobody wanted to win. Even the Buccaneers put up 9 points against the Panthers. Nobody wanted to win this division, but somebody had to have it. And the Buccaneers, you know what? They deserve it. They get it done. They finish 9-8 and somehow win the worst conference. Not the worst conference. The worst division in football. Just pitiful. Shout out to Chase McLaughlin for winning MVP in this game. 3 for 3 on field goals, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Bryce finished under 100 yards passing. This was a nightmare game. Okay, this was not a good game. It was a horrific game. I have nothing good to say about the Panthers this year. Nothing. All right? You got the number 1 pick. Don't even have it. Nothing looks good right now. All right? Panthers are just in pain and misery. Please, somebody fix this team. As someone that lives in NC, I would love for the Panthers to be good again and for them to be having fun because it's good for, the city, GDP, and for my wallet. So please, all right? Somebody fix the Panthers. I don't know if it's Tepper. God, what an awful game. Bengals and the Browns. All right, the Browns. This was a very nice come back down game. Now, they started Jeff Driscoll, okay? They didn't really have too much to play for, so they weren't going to really play Flacco, play Miles, they weren't going to go all out with the team. So, Bengals had pretty, easy, I don't want to say easy, but, the game was pretty much in their control, and it was 31-14. They get the win. They end on a good note. Browning threw 3 touchdowns. Not Chase, not Higgins, but Alsavis, I hope I said his name right. Andre Alsavis had 2 touchdowns in this game. So, yeah, credit where credit's due. Shout out to him. Bengals get the win. Nothing crazy to talk about there. Lions take out the Vikings 30-20. However, they were playing for, this wasn't like a meaningless game for the Lions, right? If we'd have lost, they had a chance, to move up in some seeds and, still playing. Still had some stuff to play for, but, man, Sam Laporta breaks the rookie record, as a tight end. Basically has all those receiving yards, receptions, touchdowns. He's got it. Unfortunately, he hyperextends his knee in this game, and that is a big, big loss for the Lions going into the wild card round next week because he has been a huge focal point on that offense, especially for Goff. So yeah, that's rough. Goff, by the way, goes 320 and 2 touchdowns in this game. Monty scores his 13th touchdown in the season. And Laporta, like I said, was doing Laporta things. 5 receptions on 7 targets and a touchdown in this game. So, yeah. Hoping for, him to get well soon because I really hate that for the Lions because they've had such a magical season. And it sucks for them to lose such a focal point out of rookie, in this way on the last week of the season. I hate it, Even as somebody that might have to play the Lions potentially in this playoffs, I hate it, all right? So, wishing him the best. ARSB, however, held it down. 7 receptions, 144 and a touchdown. What a surprise that he is. Fight on. Fight on. All right. What a surprise he's one of the best receivers in the country. Not at all surprised. Aiden Hutchinson had 2 sacks. I think that brings his season total to what? 11 and a half? Yeah. Very solid second year for Hutch. Definitely looks like he is that focal point, that other, piece of the puzzle defensively that Dan Campbell was looking for to be that superstar. Looks like he can be that guy for the Lions. So, yeah. Besides Laporta, very good game to build momentum going into the playoffs. Get to beat another divisional foe. So, yeah. Great season for the Lions, but, man, that Laporta loss really, 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 really sucks. Oh, boy. Jets-Patriots. Ladies and gentlemen, I was sad about Brandon Aubrey losing his streak, right? His perfect season. Pats fans, you were sad for a whole different reason because for the first time in 15 games, the New York Jets have beaten the New England Patriots. Listen, I don't know if Bill is going to have a job by the end of this week. I don't know if Belichick might be finished. I can excuse a bad season. I can excuse it. Let's be real. Patriots aren't that good. Roster, they're not that good. Their quarterback options are Bailey Zapp or Mac Jones. And they don't really have any weapons. Okay? So, no surprise there. But losing to the New York Jets, we've seen some crummy post-break, and we've seen some garbage Patriots teams still manage to beat some almost okay, almost not mediocre Jets teams. But on this day yesterday, it finally happened. The Jets get the win 17-3, which is, historic. Trevor Siemian went 8 for 20, had 70 yards, and they still won. Shout out to Breece Hall, who towed it nearly 40 times for 178. But the Jets have done it. All right, Patriots need to do some soul searching. Some very extensive soul searching, including drafting a new quarterback. And we'll need to determine whether Belichick is their Popovich or if it is time for him to go, because I don't know. But congrats to Jets for exercising their demons after a nightmare season. The Saints beat the piss out of the Falcons. All right, Arthur Smith. This has been the game that somehow 48-17. You're probably thinking, man, Saints blew out the Falcons. No controversy about this game. All of the controversy. All right, all of it. Somehow both teams took an L in this. How do you win 48-17 and both teams come out of this game looking bad? How is that possible? You know how that is possible? The 2023-2024 NFC South. That is how two teams can look worse coming out of a blowout game for one team. The Saints. I should be talking about how Derek Carr threw for 264 and 4 touchdowns. I should be talking about that. TCU alum Keandre Miller getting in the box. Raheem Shaheed's great touchdown. For the Falcons, I should be talking about, man, Bijan is that guy. He has 7 receptions, 103, and a touchdown. He was carrying the load earlier on, made this game look like it might be something before it got out of control. That's what I should be talking about. But no. Yeah, I should be talking about Honey Badger. Should have had a pick 6. Should be talking about that. But no. Arthur Smith, football terrorist, noted football terrorist, has been fired, much to the glee of Falcons fans everywhere. Desmond Ridder is also, see ya, out of here. Option not getting picked up. They will be drafting a quarterback in the draft this coming year. So somebody gets to book their trip to Atlanta. New Orleans, who won this game, by the way, by 31 points. And it really should have been 7 less, to be exact in that. Because Arthur Smith, before he gets fired and gets tarmacked at the end of this game, has choice words with Dennis Allen because Jamal Williams, who led the league actually in touchdowns last year, rushing touchdowns, didn't have one this year. The Saints, as a team, word for word out of Jameis Winston's mouth, made a team decision to overrule Dennis Allen's call for a kneel down on the goal line and gave the ball on a fake kneel down to Williams so he could score his 1 touchdown this year. Shannon Sharp, I think, put it very eloquently as he could. Everybody got to go. Dennis Allen, hate it for you, my brother, but Clearly, you can't control this locker room if the backup, it wasn't even Carr. It was the backup quarterback. Jameis Winston has enough pull on this team to overrule you. They don't have enough respect for you that they said, nah, we gonna get our boy his touchdown. With the game finished, done, dusted, take a knee, we're shaking hands. But no, they said, F that. We gonna do what we want to do. So you can't control the locker room. So unfortunately, thanks for the 500 season, you gotta go. Jameis Winston, by the way, you gotta go too. I don't care that you clearly are a great locker room guy. You can't just do that. You can't just make that decision. I get what you're trying to do as a former player. Like, I get it. But you can't just nah, bro, we gonna get him this touchdown. It's meaningless. It's meaningless. It's a meaningless touchdown. It wasn't even like, yo, game's on the line, put Jamal in instead of AK-41, let him put this in, build the morale. It wasn't even that. It was, yo, my guy doesn't have a touchdown this year. It wasn't even a real play, right? If you gonna run the play, run it out of a real formation so the Falcons are ready for it. Instead of, yo, I'm going to run a fake kneel down, give it to Williams, who's lined up as the fullback, and let him get on a untested defense. Weak. As Shannon said on First Take earlier today, a loser's mentality. Pure and simple. And I like Jameis, so I don't really want to get on his case like this. But, it's pretty telling about his future in the league. If we saw Brady's one thing, the GOAT, right? But the way that Baker Mayfield, commandeered that Buccaneers team in the worst division in football and looked so much better and was able to win the division, and you can't even beat out Derek Carr? What's your worth to this team? You don't listen to coaching, clearly. You're a great locker room guy. There's a lot of great locker room guys. What is your worth to this team at this point? Incredible. Just incredible stuff. How do you win a game by 31 and you still manage to look worse? Still manage to throw the organization into chaos? Incredible stuff. That's the NFC South for you, though. Saints win and lose. Falcons lose and kind of win, honestly. So, very interesting result there. Oh, boy. Listen. Trevor Lawrence didn't play a good game. I'm not going to... T-Law's my guy, but he did not play a good game. He had 2 interceptions, made a lot of horrid throws in this game. He made some great throws, but he also had some very horrid throws. But I'm not going to lie to you. I saw this coming a mile away. I was not surprised that the Titans eliminated the Jaguars 28-20 from playoff contention yesterday. I was not surprised in the least. I knew this was going to happen after... What did I say? I've said it every single week since it's happened. You should have sat him. You should have sat him, let him rest, and you should have killed his confidence. But no, you kept playing him, and the injuries kept piling up. So here you go. You sit him for 1 week, finally, but it's too late. His confidence is gone. He's still going to trot out there because it's Trevor Lawrence, but his confidence is gone. I knew exactly what type of game T-Law was going to play. It was not going to be one of those master classes he's done. It was going to be a disaster class, and that's what they got. All right? And some of that has to go on Peterson. Because he did not coach a good game. He got out-coached by Vrabel yesterday, too. The Jaguars collapsed. You were 8-3. You should be good. With the talent on this team, you should be good. 8-3 when that injury happened. You sit him, you lose a couple games, that's fine. You come back with the hope, and you come back with a healthy quarterback to end the stretch and finish this thing off. Instead, you let him play injured, and it got worse, and you kept losing. He got worse, and you kept losing. Just diabolical. Diabolical management, player management from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They didn't deserve to make the playoffs. So, like I said, I wasn't shocked that King Henry ran for 153 and got to have his perfect send-off from Tennessee if this was the last one. I was not surprised. Hop, shout out to him as well. 7 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown, I believe. Credit where credit's due to the Titans for ending the season on a good note. Tannehill had a solid game to end off for probably his last season in Titans uniform as well. But the Jaguars, you blew it. Don't point fingers at each other. Y'all as a collective blew it this season. You had it in your hands. We were talking about y'all as potential contenders, and you blew it. Simply put, blew it. Seahawks, Cardinals. This game brought me pain. All right, because Matt Prater just didn't have it. All right, he just didn't have it. I could have won the pool this week. I mean, I could have won the pool this week. And I was facing my dad. 1v1, right? And after that Jaguars-Titans game, we were tied going into the 4 o'clocks. And at one point, I was up by 2. Could have sealed the overall championship in terms of picking teams for the week and for the season. I had the championship in my hands. And then Matt Prater missed 2 field goals. And the Seahawks win the game 21-20. Pretty much sums up the Cardinals' season, honestly. They were the most competitive 4-13 team, but they were still a 4-13 team. They just couldn't get it done when it mattered. Simply put, couldn't get it done when it mattered. Not even just Prater, just as a collective. They could not get it done. Couldn't get the stop, couldn't get the yards, whatever it was. That's what happened for the Cardinals, and this is a great summary of their season. Seahawks, though, Geno, like I said, closed very well. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Lockett had 2 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Will Disley also got in the box. Cardinals, Kyler wasn't bad by any means. James Conner, right away, has been a very, very, very good acquisition for them. 150 in this game for him. He also had 54 yards receiving. He's the running back there. He is. He's got it. He can be the bell cow. He can do it all. All right, Connor's the guy. Need to keep him around. But yeah, like I said, Cardinals had plenty of opportunity to close this one out, and they could not do it, so they take that L. Green Bay still runs Chicago, but that's no surprise. Packers get the win at home, 17-9. Jordan Love had 316 and 2 touchdowns. Okay, I don't really need to talk much about this. The Bears talked a big game, thinking they were going to play spoiler. We all knew that was not going to happen if you know anything about the Packers and Bears rivalry in the 21st century. So yeah, just a really good game for them. Jaden Reed had 112. Aaron had 111. J Love did his thing. So yeah, Packers get the win. Chiefs and the Chargers. The Chargers stink, which we've said multiple times this year, but I just want to say it one more time. Because the same way that we were like, man, Cardinals have been a remarkable 4-13 team in terms of competitiveness. The Chargers might be the worst 5-12, or 5-anything. 5-11 is what it used to be, right? They are the worst 5-11, 5-12 team in NFL history. All right, find me one team worse than this year's Chargers that won 5 games. You can't. In the history of the league, you can't. I mean, pitiful. It hurts me to talk about this team sometimes. And I'm not even a fan, okay? It's such a waste. It's just a waste. This season was a waste. Easton Stick sucks. I mean, he was okay in this game, but he's not that guy. I know they didn't play. They didn't have Keenan or whatever it was, but still, you're supposed to win this game, bro. The Chiefs played nobody. They played an XFL team, and you lost. You lost to Blaine Gabbert. Pitiful. All right? Just pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. They didn't even, Pacheco didn't even play, bro. Like, it's just pitiful. All right? Pitiful, 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 pitiful. Pitiful for the Chargers. I know Chargers fans are ecstatic. All right? Ecstatic that this game is over, and I don't blame them. That this season is over, and I don't blame them because it was just horrid. Chiefs get the win, though, 13-12. And yeah, just horrible. Raiders get the win 27-14. Yeah, nothing really crazy to talk about here. Shout out to Jacoby Myers. He had a hell of a game. Zeus had over 100 yards, I think, for the first time in his career. And the Broncos, they gave up the season when they sat Russ. So, yeah, nothing really else to say about that. Raiders get the win. Deer Park unofficial water break. Because I've been waiting on this one. Oh, I've been waiting on this one. I got enough time? Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to direct your fingers up in the sky. I want you to point it at the screen, or I want you to point it to the nearest Philadelphia Eagle fan, and I want you to join me as once again, everybody, laugh at the Eagles. Everybody, laugh at the Eagles fan. Frauds, all of your lot, man. Frauds. You're all frauds. You're frauds. Now I know. MetLife got to you. the MetLife, the turf got to you. All right, so I'm hoping for the best for A.J. Brown in all seriousness, besides the laughing part. But boy, oh boy, y'all were down, let me see, 24-0 to the New York Giants. in Tyrod Taylor. Woo wee. Man, oh man, oh man. Now I know Jalen Hurts, Drew Walls dislocated his finger, which sucks. But man, 24-0. You'll end up getting 10 points, so I guess credit where credit's due, right? 27-10. It makes it look a little bit better. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. Everybody laugh at the Eagles. Frauds. Can we stop treating them like they're like Super Bowl contenders? Can we stop? Can we stop? I'm not even just being like, can we stop like with the on paper? We're Alabamaing the Eagles, right? Oh man, they're the Eagles. On paper, they look, decent. While ignoring the fact that they have done nothing down the stretch. I mean, they're not quite Jaguars level of collapse, but boy, they have collapsed. They have fallen. The Angels, the Eagles have fallen from the sky. From their pedestal. They have descended upon us. They've been kicked off by the New York Giants. Boy, oh boy. I mean, a humiliating game. A nightmare game from the Eagles. I mean, Eagles fans they're 11-6, and I had Eagles fans on Twitter begging for the season to be over. It's been that type of finish for the Eagles. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, one last time for the regular season at least. Everybody, point and laugh at the Eagles fan. All right. Rams get the win. All right, they get the rim and get the wild card, somehow pulling off a win against the 49ers. They were down 20-7 in this game, but found a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Credit where Carson Wentz deserves some credit, all right? A lot of people, counted him out. He ain't right back. Or whatever Gino said, all right? Wentz did the same thing, all right? He balled out in this game, had over 200 yards total, had 3 touchdowns in this game. None more important than that one in the fourth quarter to take the lead of this game. And that 2-point conversion, he got to 2-2 as well to put this away. So credit, like I said, what credit is due. Puka, he got the records. No surprise there. He has been phenomenal, like I said. Rookie of the year for the NFC at the very least. And the 49ers, I mean, they rested their starters, so, I mean, this loss doesn't really affect them that much. Everything was kind of sealed up, so they didn't really care. All right, the 49ers really didn't care about this game, but the Rams, they did, and they did find a way to win. So credit where credit's due to the Rams for getting it done. The Bills take out the Dolphins, all right, because we need to have a conversation about Tua. By the way, credit where credit's due. Not that he played a great game, but Josh Allen had 359, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, if for anybody wondering. Over 300 yards. He didn't play a great game. All right, he was turnover prone as always, and that nearly cost them the game. They won this game, but they didn't win this game, if you know what I mean. But winning is all that matters. They surged at the end of the season after being nearly finished and found a way to win the AFC and grab the number 2 seed. So credit where credit's due to the Bills. But, like I said, Tua. Yeah, he's just not that guy. He's a good quarterback, but he's just not that guy. I want to say and be like he's like Oralist, but like, he's just not that guy. He doesn't deliver when you need him to be a star quarterback. He just doesn't deliver. I know everybody talks about Dak in that context, but we need to talk about Tua. Like even worse, more flagrant. Because I can't remember the last time Tua has showed up and done the stuff that we see him do against some of the worst teams at least. When's the last time he did that against, like, in a game that really, really mattered? In a big game? I can't recall. It's always a mistake or something that kills the Dolphins in the end. And it's always usually him. Now, he's 25. I'm not saying get rid of him. But boy, oh boy, up to this point at least, Tua has not been the guy. In a great opportunity for him to be the guy with the weapons he has of the Dolphins in a very winnable game against the Bills, he couldn't get it done. Simply put, he couldn't get it done. I know, by the way, very happy Cheetah was okay after that fire, but still. And you can say a lot was going on with the team, but still. Home game against the Bills, division on the line. You need your star quarterback, your franchise quarterback, has to play better than Tua did yesterday, and he did not. And, ultimately, it cost the Dolphins. And, of course, now we got the playoffs. So, just going through some of the matchups, very, very quickly. All right, very, very briefly. All right, so we can get over to the roundup. All right, finish the segment off. We got the Steelers versus the Bills, which should be the Bills. Listen, the Bills should have it, but Lord knows. All right, honestly, Lord knows. All right, with the Steelers this season, just Lord knows. The Bills should win this game, but we will see what happens. The Chiefs and the Dolphins, which of course is headlined by Cheetah facing his old team. Can they get it done? They'll be at home, so can they make it happen? I don't know. We will see. But yes, should be very interesting. Of course, that's the intriguing storyline. Mahomes will be back. Can they get it together? Can they make it? Listen, that's gonna be a really close game. So yeah, plenty of storylines there. Texans and the Browns, which would be the Deshaun Watson homecoming game, but he ain't playing. He gone. He injured. So we got Joe Flacco back at helm for the Browns. Can they keep it surging? Or is it CJ Stroud's time? Can he make it happen in the playoffs as well? We will find out. Can DeMeco Ryans continue his Coach of the Year bid? Of course, the way the NFL playoffs are set up, the lowest seed will face the Ravens. So we'll see what happens there. Cowboys Packers, which I'm mortified still by the fact that we lost to the Packers all those years ago when Dez caught the ball and it wasn't a catch. So I'm very nervous about this. Even though we should win, I am still very nervous about this game. The Packers are very solid. So yeah, we will see what happens. But yeah, Packers, Cowboys, Lions, Rams. Two teams that, for a long period of time we thought were kind of, and maybe still are, trending in opposite directions in terms of Rams won a Super Bowl. Now they're kind of descending from the elite. The Lions were in the cellar for a very long time. Now they might be ascending into the elite. So a very intriguing game there as well as storylines. And of course the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Can the Eagles get it back on track? Or will the Buccaneers, who are at home for this game, can they get it done? So yeah, plenty to talk about with the wild card next week, but we will talk about that in episode 180. But for now, that was the NFL. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup World Juniors. Oh mama, don't you cry. U.S. hockey is do or die. And boy, was it do or die at the World Juniors. Because we got it done, baby. We got it done. The World Juniors belong to us. USA wins 6-2 over Sweden in the gold medal to take Goldie. We love to see it. Shout out to Lane, who fought at the end. By the way, very scrappy game. Sweden, of course, this tournament was in Sweden. So truly a home game for the Swedes, but they couldn't get it done. USA, we were just that team. All right, we were invincible. We didn't lose a game the entire World Juniors, so that was cool too. But yeah, Lane fighting at the end was kind of funny. Lekkerimäki does win MVP, but unfortunately was not enough for the Swedes. Kutter Monster, Snugs, Monster. It was just by the way, we had some great names on the team, but yeah, it was just glory. All right, it was glorious. Glorious, alright? Nothing unites the country like country-based competitions. And the World Juniors has united the U.S. As we get an versus Sweden. And yeah, pumped about that. We will see what happens. Bedard, who was the hero of last year's World Juniors, of course, the generational prospect we've been talking about all year and for a while now at this point. Bedard breaks his jaw, which the NHL is now going to be furious because he's going to miss the All-Star game. Very, very likely. Clean hit though by Braden Smith, but unfortunately Bedard breaks his jaw. Sucks to play. Kind of went like that, but hey, it's hockey. Wishing all the best for who would have been the Rookie of the Year by a long shot, and a guy who's looked every bit as generational as expected. So yeah, give us some Bedard. The other generational prospect, of course, in the ends, which is in the NBA, Wemby had a great week this week, but the Spurs suck. They're horrid, which is what I put on my notes. They're horrid. Blew 2 games in the closing moments this week after, Wemby went toe-to-toe with Giannis, and then they folded. And then Wemby went off again against the Cavs, and they folded again. And really, he's doing all this on like 20 minutes a game, and he's also doing this without the team really doing a great job of finding him. So it could be even better for Wemby, but the Spurs suck. Yeah, they're not very good, all right? Historically speaking, also one of the worst former number 1 overall teams in NBA history currently. So we will see what happens. But yeah, Wemby shines. The Spurs are horrid. Warriors continue to struggle. Jonathan Kuminga wants out because he doesn't believe in Kerr. A lot of flack going on there. Dynasty is crumbling. Okay, it is crumbling in front of our eyes, and I'm not a Warriors fan, so I'm not like, hey, I'm like, okay, circle of sports, circle of life. But for Warriors fans, I know this has to be painful for it to all fall apart like this. After all the years of glory, which I know you're grateful for, the core is getting old and getting injured. Draymond suspended. Clay sucks. Steph's trying to carry the team. The young talent hasn't developed the way that y'all hoped. Wiseman got shipped away. Kuminga's upset, and when he gets the chance to do what he says he can, he doesn't. Moody hasn't developed maybe the way that y'all thought. So yeah, rough going for the Warriors. We'll see what happens. Jokic literally cannot miss right now. He's missed 6 shots in like the last 6 games. He only missed 1 shot. He only took 3, by the way, yesterday. He had 16 assists against the Pistons. Oh my goodness. What a monster. Alright, what a monster. Shout out to Jokic. If Embiid wasn't doing what Embiid is doing, Jokic might be going for a 3rd MVP. So yeah, another great season from the Joker, and the NBA continues to heat up as we get closer and closer and closer and closer to the All-Star break and eventually to the playoffs. But we will see what happens. And of course, we will talk more football. Crunch time, playoff time. It's winning time in the NFL and in the CFB. Of course, that's tonight. But yeah, football, big time episode today. Big time episode next week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Without further ado, have a great week, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 2024. Ocho signing off.